Welcome to Ask Your Academic. Today's session will cover the MSc in Cardiovascular Sciences, and we're joined by Professor Eleanor Davies and Professor Paddy Mark, and they will be here to answer any questions you have about their programme. We are recording the session today, so don't panic if you miss anything. We'll send the recording out that you can watch it back. And if you've got any questions about sort of funding, accommodation, things like that, I'm going to post some helpful links into the chat box for you. We've also got an online postgraduate event on the 7th of May, and that will have sessions covering things like funding. So that'd be a really good resource for you if you've got anything that's not answered in those website links that I'll share. Will we get our panel to introduce themselves and then an overview of the programme? That'd be great. Thank you. Eleanor, you're kicking off.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all well. I'm Professor Eleanor Davies. I direct the programme alongside Professor Paddy Mark, who's with us today as well. We'd like to welcome you all to this session on the MSc in Cardiovascular Sciences. Now, as I've just said, it's an MSc, it's a taught PhD programme, which means you go to lectures, and it's composed of a number of different taught modules. Some of these are 10 credit modules, some of them are 20 credit modules, and these span the 2 terms of the programme. And within those 2 terms, you'll get a different you'll get different topics on various aspects of cardiovascular disease. And we have 7 modules which you'll have to sit, and then we have you'll have to pick 2 options. Now, you've probably got an outline of the course contents, I hope. Do they, Naomi? Do they have an outline of the modules that we do?
Yes, so that's on the website. All the courses are linked to you.
So if you want to ask us about those, you can. They're all assessed in slightly different ways. Some are online exams, some are in-hall exams, some are assignments. And you need to pass all these before you can move on to the final part of the programme, which is a 12-week project. And we try and tailor that to your subjects that you're interested in and who you might want to work for. So that's a basic outline of the course. I'll let Paddy speak now, and we can answer any more questions that you have.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Eleanor. So I'm Paddy Marks. I'm Professor of Kidney Medicine. So I work a wee bit of the time as a clinical doctor in the hospital. But again, I'm a researcher like Eleanor. I do more clinically themed research, but we're both researchers at the University of Glasgow. But this is obviously about a taught course. I think, Eleanor, you actually slipped and said PhD at one point. It's taught MSc.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. So I guess I think Eleanor's already given an overview on the course content. There's a few things that we could cover just now, such as many of our students come from diverse backgrounds. So, I mean, my general thing is I wouldn't be shy about applying, and I wouldn't be worried because we've such a diverse, most people with some science background but we have a look at all the applications, and one of the things we do is we assess the applications. We try not to be, we try not to we try and be inclusive and try and encourage people to apply, and we clearly do want as many students as possible. But one of the things we look at is we make sure that your basic grounding in scientific stuff, and whether that's from a clinical background, a scientific background, or perhaps you've come from another background such as pharmacy or nursing or whatever, or a basic science degree. We have a look at those things, and if you get an offer for the course, it's because we've looked at your undergraduate or a career prior to the course, and we think you should be able to cope with the intellectual content of the course. We know that no one will have covered everything in advance of the course, hence it's taught and hence we're teaching you. But I just think sometimes people are nervous about applications or nervous in the first day that they will be overwhelmed by things, and different people bring different strengths. think Eleanor's covered most of the things about the modules or what's available online, prior to coming. We don't tend to have preset course textbooks. We don't have a course textbook. It's about research. So, and because research changes, and therefore we don't say, oh, you must read this scientific paper before you come. But very much that is part of the early content. As from the first lectures, I certainly give one of the first lectures, and we lay out, here's papers which we think will be informative. Here's papers by researchers that will be teaching you. And then we back it up by additional, more taught things around statistics, methodology, lab methods, which may be less based on research, but more based on just factual thing on methods. And as Eleanor says, there's two terms of pretty much taught work with your own reading, and then summer projects or over the from approximately May through to August, which are directed with we undertake a research project, which may be a lab project, maybe a data project, maybe just a review, just again tailored to your needs and your interests, and then that gets examined in mid to late August, and then that's the full year running from September through to August. So yeah, that was about it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Eleanor, if you want to chip in or if anything's coming through.
Yeah, I mean, the course is taught by a range of scientists and clinicians, mainly within our school, which is the School of Cardiovascular and Metabolic Health. We all have a good international and national research profile in various areas of cardiovascular disease, and everyone will teach you the topic that they're an expert in. So you will have good access to everyone in this school, and you will get a good feel for what they do and for the research that goes on here, which may be useful to you for what you want to do after your MSc. Some of you may wish to pursue, for example, a PhD, and clearly we're a large school and we do take on students to do PhDs, and some of the students on our previous programmes have indeed gone on to do PhDs within our school or elsewhere within the university and some of the other schools.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to just expand a wee bit on the future careers. Where would this fit in? So, as Eleanor highlights, one of the things is it's a scientific degree, so it's a master's, so it's a good fit for people who want to do a PhD, either within our university or school or elsewhere, and both have happened. Some others use this to increase their own career opportunities in either, or particularly some people want to do a bit of research, which this would be a taught research program, and then move back into their clinical fields that may improve your own career opportunities either within the UK or further afield. And we've seen people who've done that, and that would again be not just for the conventional doctors, but also vets or nursing, paramedics, whatever. So, people say the other route out of this, or where people find we've certainly had people move on, is for example, within the NHS technicians role. So people have moved from our career into things like biomedical imaging and things like that. There's obviously no guarantees. We are not trying to offer promises. We are aware that unfortunately the world has got very competitive, but it's just to highlight what some of our previous students have done. Some students have actually done this career, done a basic science degree, done this, and then started a second undergraduate life in medicine is another thing that people have done. So it's just to highlight that like many things in life, there's a diverse range of people come in, and there's a diverse degree of career paths that we help to support after the program. And we do love hearing how our students get on. I'll hand back to Naomi if you're keen to ask us stuff.
Thank you. You've covered quite a lot in there actually, but we'll maybe just expand on a few things. So you mentioned the research projects. So can you tell us how students go about that in terms of like choosing their topic, their supervisor?
So usually about February or March, once you've had some experience within the programme, you've met many of the lecturers, you might have a better idea of what subjects you like and what subjects you don't like. We then ask all the students whether they would prefer to do a lab-based project, a data analysis project, or a more dissertation review style project. We usually ask them to give us 5 key words that they're interested in. We keep these quite general, so students might say, well, I'm interested in hypertension, I'm interested in heart failure, I'm interested in kidney disease, etc. And we also might ask them, is there anyone in particular you would like to work with based on their lectures? And then we have a project portal where staff members upload various types of projects on various subjects. And we try, where possible, it's not always 100% possible, but we try and match the students with a suitable project. And the projects usually start in, end of May, middle of May to the end of May, start of June. It depends on the project. And they usually last for about 3 months. And the students have to write up, their dissertation or a lab report. It looks a bit like a published scientific paper. And then they have to give a presentation to the examiners and the rest of the class. And that's to give you experience of writing scientific reports, but it's also to give you experience in doing presentations that you might have to do in your career in front of an audience. It's strictly timed, so that's to sort of mimic what you might go through at a scientific conference or a clinical conference, and you'll be asked questions by your peers and by your colleagues, and hopefully you should be able to answer those things, and you're marked on not only the project but also the presentation. So the presentation constitutes 25% of the mark, and the written project constitutes 75%. And the project in itself is worth a third of the total number of credits of the whole master's programme. So it's a big piece of work, but we find in general that students get a lot out of the project, and get a lot of expertise from their supervisor, but also get an idea of how scientific and clinical research is conducted. So we find that all the students enjoy that really well.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. You've covered it very, very thoroughly, Eleanor. I would agree.
Okay.
Tends to be one of the more fun bits of the, well, I hope it's fun.
I know that when I speak to students, the project's always something that they comment on that, they really get into it and, really enjoy it. In terms of the optional courses for the programme, when are students expected to choose them? Is that right at the start, or is that a little bit through?
We do ask students quite early on if they know what they want to take, but if they haven't decided, we can do it later on in time. It's mainly for organisation of the class, because if they all pick one, we need to, let the other, option people that run it know. A lot of the options are shared by other programmes, so sometimes that's not an issue, but some people know quite quickly what they want to do, or they know what they don't want to do. So we do have 3 options, and you have to choose 2 of them. And usually folk will find something that interests them there. And obviously they're cardiovascular related. So
Perfect. Were you going to say something there, Paddy?
No, again, I mean, that's pretty much it. So, I mean, I don't have much to add to that. It's again, it's more just organizational rather than anything particularly competitive. I don't think we've ever had to cap anything.
no.
Yeah, I guess what we could cover is is just the overall course, as in how it works. So So myself and Eleanor are, the course directors. The course consists of modules, each of which has a module lead, who is responsible for running that bit of the course. So, we said it was 7 modules. But the key thing is that we have a postgraduate administrator who is Lindsay Ross, and I'm assuming it will still be Lindsay because she's done it for a long time. She's very, very supportive and very aware of it. But Lindsay tends to sort with all the administrative stuff of running the course. And the main thing is, it is a little bit godly, but it's the room booking, because when we know the size of the course, we then book all the rooms. We tend, the taught sections are all held on campus. And as far as we see, it's the Gilmore Hill campus. It's the main bit of the University of Glasgow. The lectures I've taught on, or the bit of this part of this course, because I teach on a couple of the modules, have all been on the main university in nice old buildings, that kind of thing, which is nice. Not necessarily in science buildings, but sometimes that's nice because you get to see these really old buildings. And furthest away is St Andrew's building, which is again just across Kelvin Grove Park, but all within walking distance of the West End. We do try very hard. We avoid, but it is inevitably, because we are drawing off or the course consists of a number of programs and various things, which work very hard to avoid program clashes and long journeys between lectures and things like that. I don't think it's ever been a big problem, but it's just to highlight that sometimes the location of the lectures, you might think, oh, we're doing a biomedical course. Why is it not all in one particular building? And that's just because the room booking, the size of the rooms, we want the rooms to be, that they're not cavernous lecture theatres for what is usually a group of about 15 to 20 students. So big enough that they're comfortable, but not so massive that it seems completely ridiculous. But overall, as somebody who attended the University of Glasgow and liked wandering around campus, I've enjoyed teaching on the course over the years. Generally speaking, venues have all been very, very acceptable and get you to see a lot of we're quite proud of our campus.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned it there, but how often should students expect to be on campus? Is there like a set amount of hours you might get per course, or a number of days?
It is a full-time course. It's labelled as a full-time course, so you won't have lectures from 9 till 5, but the most of the lectures now are face-to-face, and we would expect students to be present at those lectures. When you have a master's programme, it's obviously at a higher level than an undergraduate degree. There is an expectation that some of the studying is self-directed learning. So your lecturers, etc., will give you reading material that you have to get through, or work, that current papers that are in the research literature that you have to read at, and those, we would expect you to do those. Whether you do those at home or in campus is up to you. But for the lectures, etc., these are on campus. And obviously there are a number of study areas around campus that are geared up with, access to IT systems, etc. Study areas that are designed to facilitate, studying or access to papers that you might need through the library, etc. So that's what we would expect, but it's not an online programme where everyone can do it remotely or not be present here. We do try sometimes and record some of the lectures, but all the rooms don't have recording facilities, so it's not always possible. And lecturers update their lectures every year, and a lot of people will be doing hot off the press research topics. So, and sometimes if they're presenting their own work, which is new, they don't want that recorded before it's published. So we have to facilitate those types of things.
That's good enough. do students get access to the material that's going to be taught in classes before the class so they can sort of read anything that's provided?
So
Yeah,
we
which
do.
yeah.
On you go,
But
Paddy.
just to give you a breather, I was literally about. I think that's actually now. I mean, that was about what I was going to cover anyway. Next, I mean, yes. Again, as Eleanor says, with the slight caveat that I certainly always like to update my lecture every year to like to keep it current. I mean, I have been involved in this course for over 10 years, and clearly, if I was talking about the same stuff 10 years ago, it would feel very dated. But yeah, so I do update it, and we require all our lecturers to make their taught material available to students. I try and give it with a couple of days' notice in advance. Now and again, we do chase it's available the day after, but it should be available before, very much, because we want accessibility, people to feel comfortable with the notes and things like that. But yeah, they definitely get material around, and it should be over 90% of the time before the lecture. And it may, what I would say is it may be an overview of what the lecture covers, simply because there may be some unpublished material they do not wish to be available in advance. But in general, most of it will just be available as a PowerPoint presentation, and I certainly send a couple of supporting. I usually send supporting papers out afterwards. Different people do different things, but yeah, we make material available in advance of the lecture. The recording thing, we would love to record lectures. Unfortunately, again, because of the rooms, not every room has a facility to record all lectures. It's partly also, we do want people to attend in person, because obviously I like students come up and ask me questions at the end, and we get to know our students, and that's helpful. I guess the other thing, sorry, on students is we do have class reps, and we meet with them at least once a term to discuss any issues with the course. Clearly, in the kind of pastoral sense, if there are issues with the course, that usually through the class reps. If there are more pastoral issues, if somebody's having some issues, personal health, whatever, then clearly Eleanor and I could individually deal with those on a confidential basis if people need to defer an exam or need some flexibility around scheduling of the course. And I'm not, in the context of webinars, we deal with these in a case-by-case basis, and over the years we've had to make some arrangements to accommodate issues, like all of us have personal issues, and we've been able to accommodate quite a wide range of these over the years.
Perfect. You mentioned exams there. What kind of assessments and exams can students expect?
So there's a range of different styles of assessment. So, and we try and give you expertise in the things that you might need for your future career. So as I just said, your project, you would do a presentation in front of the class, and you would do a write-up of your laboratory report or your review. Those are sizable pieces of writing. For other exams, these may be held in a hall with invigilators present, and you may be asked to answer 3 questions from 5 choices, and you would have to sit down and write answers to those in an exam script book. There are other types of assignment that you may be asked to do at home. So you may be given some up-to-date research papers, and you may be asked to write a critique of those papers and summarize the paper and say what the pros and cons of the paper does, because that's something that will be useful in your future careers. You may be asked, for some of the more practical classes, which are, have laboratory skills in them. You may be asked to write a laboratory report. Again, those would be the sort of things you might need in your future careers. So we do, and also we have one module that requires you to write a little grant application. So we've tried to vary how we do these and the types of assessment that we have, but we've tried to do it with what you might need for your future careers in mind. So a wide range of different types of exams and assessments, but all modules, all courses within the programme are examined.
Thank you. We are just nearing the end there. So I suppose maybe a good question to end on is, do you have any advice for those students starting in September?
Well, mine would be, first of all, we welcome you. You know, there's obviously we're always excited to meet new students. It's always a positive thing. I wouldn't, you know, the main thing is complete whatever you're doing now. Don't panic about this, about what September offers, because there is plenty of time. Although we do set high standards, we do teach all the rest, but there's plenty of time over the course to get into it. It starts with a sort of taught heavy course, as in taught, less, you know, directed. And we just encourage you to be enthusiastic and you know, not to worry about preset material. We will provide research papers and things like that and links. And once you're a student, you also get clearly open access to the library and things like that, which means a lot of the papers become available through PubMed and then the various ways the university makes journals. So I wouldn't panic and obsess about pre-reading everything. I know that sounds rather laid back, but we're aware that you've got whatever you're doing right now and then what you're doing in September, or yes, September, usually in September or early October. And then just remain enthusiastic. If there is something that you're excited about cardiovascular science, tell us on the first day. We'll try and support that if that's relevant. But if you don't, if you just want a general overview, you can wait and absorb and tell us late as the course goes on.
I think that's right. I mean, I think, you know, the University in Glasgow are, you know, very vibrant areas. We basically look forward to welcoming you here. And Glasgow University, our school in cardiovascular research, has got a lot to offer. So you should come, take advantage of everything we and the university have on offer. And, you know, we would like you to enjoy your time here and hope that from the end of it, you can develop your future career plans as you want. Okay.
Thank you. I think you touched on it, Paddy, at the start, and I've heard a few people say it, but you've been given an offer. So somebody saw something in your application that means that you can do it. So just, yeah, kind of chill out a little bit and don't panic too much.
I can assure you, it's quite nice when I read, or between Eleanor and I, we read nearly all the people who get in the course. We read, you know, unless somebody's so obviously brilliant that there's no question in our early filtering, but for most of them we have a look at the application, we read the personal statements and all the rest of it. It's really lovely to read those, meet the people, and then see them through their course, you know. Yeah. And for some of those, I mean, I've just had one who started the course, I think, before the pandemic, and he's just had his PhD viva last week, so he stuck with me, or I stuck with him, whatever. But you know, MSc, then wanted to do a PhD, and that worked out. So you know, some people it's for a year, some people it's for something slightly longer. But yeah, we look forward to meeting you.
Thank you. And on that note, I think that's us at the end now. So thanks very much to our panel for their time, and thanks to those that have watched the webinar live and on record as well. So thank you, and we look forward to meeting you all in September. Goodbye.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.